locally here back home. Now today we have a very interesting topic that concerns almost every Ugandan. And of course, we are looking at labor externalization, but with specific emphasis on the conditions of workers in the Middle East. Very many times we've had a number of stories coming in from people working in the Middle East. Some have been very, very disturbing. And of course, we've also had equally very interesting stories of success of people who are working in the Middle East. We know that last year we were able to get $1.1 billion US as remittance from people working in the Middle East. More so now, there is this wave of domestic workers, money they send home back to help their loved ones. And it's estimated that about 1,600 Ugandans are working in the Middle East. And of course, we all remember that was in 2018 where government of Uganda began signing, that is bilateral agreements with these countries in the Middle East to have externalization of labor. It's been a long journey. There's been success, there have been challenges, and with me today to discuss this, I'm delighted to have, that is one of the people who runs a company that does externalization of labor to the Middle East, that is Asha Chitandwe, who is the CEO in Jersey Limited. You're most welcome, Asha.
Thank you very much, Robert, and good morning, viewers.
And immediate next after me is a man who is based in Saudi Arabia, and he happens to be the manager, that is in Jersey in Saudi Arabia, Nsamba Ashraf. Salam alaikum, Nsamba.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
I continue. You know I'm good at Arabic, so let's continue.
I think let's end there.
Let's end there. Yeah. Well, he's a man who is also very good in Arabic, and of course he's a mediator between the people that are working there and of course the people that are employing them. Like it was one of the recommendations, if you remember the new guidelines issued by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development to companies, you must have a Ugandan based in these countries where you have people working. And he's a contact person, and he's the one who manages issues here and there. Of course, also issues of translations. That's why I said he is very good in Arabic. I don't want to dare him because he may disapprove me, so let's leave it at that. Nsamba, how have you been?
Definitely, we are doing well, and we are very happy that we are doing work that is helping our country, that is helping Ugandans, and that's helping the world at large.
To begin with, we know that one of the areas where we are seeing now so many families having connections is domestic workers. One here I would call them like housemates, but there let's take that general picture, domestic workers.
Yes.
And much as there's been a huge migration of young girls from Uganda going there for greener pastures, which is okay, it's choice and love, but we've also received a number of complaints.
Yes.
Here and there. Let's first understand, what is the role of your office? What is the role of this key office that the ministry came up to say, to direct among the guidelines that any company must have people like you in countries of destination where these girls go?
Basically, the role of my office is supervising, first of all. Supervising is, for example, these domestic workers are coming back at the offices, these domestic workers are in the houses, supervising, monitoring them, finding out what is the status, have they eaten, are they getting their salaries, someone is sick, has he or she given medication, someone needs to call home, is he having access to the to a phone? But that is our first role. Then after that, my second role is counseling, because in my team I'm having a team of 8 supervisors. Amongst them I'm having 2 who are having holders of degrees in counseling and guidance, counseling these domestic workers, because being that is a new destination, someone has never gone there, he needs someone who she can talk to, someone who can guide her. Sometimes they lose parents, sometimes they issues, maybe my land has been stolen, my man has been eaten. They need someone to talk to. So they need someone who can counsel them, someone who can help them understand. Some of them come when they don't have any financial literacy. So they need someone who can guide them. How can you spend your money? How can you save your money? So that is in the aspect of counseling and guidance. And then the other work, because my office, it goes deep, that even I happen to be the one who selects the girls who come to Saudi Arabia to work under my company. It's that the difference between us and other companies is that India's recruitment company in Saudi Arabia, I happen to be the one who selects still the domestic workers who come to my company. The companies like Mr. Ashish Tandwe, they just know that these are the qualifications of the companies under India's. For example, they need girls to be under this age. They need girls to be under, this should be the academic qualification. This should be A, B, C, D. They happen to collect these girls. After they get a bigger number, I come from Saudi Arabia, I think on a monthly basis or maybe every 2 months to select these girls. So our responsibility gets deeper, that even I start from the selection so that I know what I'm going to supervise. I know what the people in Saudi Arabia want, and I know what my countrymen here, who are they exactly. So I can know that maybe a person who is in this category suits this person. A person who is in this category suits this person. Because even here, we're having a wider, it's a wider market here. But I know that a person who is coming from Uganda is very good in this. Someone who stopped in senior 4 would be very good in this. Someone of this size would be very good in this. Someone who would be at this level of education would be very good in this. So basically that's my responsibility.
Well, Asher, now this is a requirement by the ministry.
Right.
That for any company that is involved in externalization of labor, they should have a manager based in that country of destination. To you, as people running this industry, first, we want to look at possibility. There are over 200 companies now registered in Uganda. And also, how does this suit in your business as people running this?
Thank you very much, Robert, for that very good question. Truth of the matter is that this regulation came out last year in August, but for us we had started way back. When this, for example, the Saudi market was opened, for us we began immediately, and that is when we sent Sharif to establish a team to work with, but also a department that can handle this. Secondly, for us as business people, but also as people who have passion, who are passionate about this particular sector, we saw this need way back. That is why we had Sharif trained and sent there. And right now, as you've heard from him, he supervises a team of 8 people. As a manager, he has taken you through what he does. So one, the complaints, queries, and all these other issues that may arise are handled on site, if I may say. And that is why, for us, we believe this is the way to go. But also, as a sector, you mentioned that we're over 200 companies. Yes, and right now, you realize, Robert, that these audios, videos that we've been seeing over time, right now you don't see as much because people like Sharif and their teams in Saudi are managing their complaints, their queries, and all these other things. So it is a very good thing, and it came at a particular point that some of us had already seen, and we thought that if it is rolled out to all the other companies, we have a good image as a country, because remember these videos, like I told you before, Saudi at some point wanted to close out Uganda because of these videos, and so I think it's a good thing, Robert, and I think we should go for it. Yes, someone will tell you that, oh, but you see, there is a money aspect.
That is on the business.
Yes, but it's part of what we are doing. It's a business, and you need to ensure that the safety of our people is really taken seriously, but also to ensure that they enjoy what they are doing and also benefit, because we want Ugandans to be productive. When we send them out there, we want to see them productive, but also contribute to our country's economy so that we grow as a country. Thank you, Robert.
Well, just remind our viewers, you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning by simply going on our social media platforms. Send us that message. Send us what you want to know from the guests this morning, and I guarantee you we'll read out all your messages and we'll have response to them. Having, that is, people from one of the companies, leading companies in this country that are into externalization of labor. That is Ashish Tandwe, who is the CEO of Enjaz and the manager based in Saudi Arabia. So All your questions will be answered, and we are looking at that is the conditions of workers in the Middle East, where we know many of people living of late being domestic workers, among others, heading to this destination. This brings me back to Sharif.
Yes.
What have been the outstanding challenges being faced by people in the Middle East that have come to your desk?
Basically, first of all, I don't know, you want me to go direct to the challenges, or you want me to go to reasons why we're having these challenges?
Let's first look at the challenges, then we shall look at the reasons why they are.
Right. Okay, basically, first of all, the challenges we get is that the first challenge, there is communication. Is that majority of the domestic workers, because they speak English, the other people speak Arabic. So there is communication, poor communication. I don't understand what the sponsor is telling me.
Barrier there.
Yes, language barrier. And then the sponsor still says, I'm not understanding what the domestic worker says. So we have been having that challenge. And then the other challenge we've been having is that there is a destination culture. Remember, these people have been here. They have been in a country where maybe work starts at 7. They're coming in a country where maybe work starts at 6, starts at 4. So the destination culture, that goes into the dressing code, that goes into the food which is eaten, that goes into a lot of things. Basically, the destination, there is a difference in culture between what has been happening here in Uganda and what is happening there. So this ends up affecting most of the domestic workers. And then the other thing we've been having as a challenge, there is I think it should be financial literacy. Majority of our girls, or majority of the domestic workers, they come there when they don't have any idea on what should I use the money for with. Because someone is living in Uganda, this person has been getting, for example, 200,000 on a monthly basis, or maybe 100,000 on a monthly basis. This person is getting 900,000 now. This person is getting 150,000. So there is lack of financial literacy that some of them, they don't know how to use this money. Then after that, still, we get other challenges. Some Arabs or some sponsors, they don't know the rights of these domestic workers. That you find that there's at times there's a violation of the rights, but these rights are being violated. I won't say maybe they do it intentionally, because I'm not certain on that one. But some maybe do it intentionally, but some, in the course of the interrogation, you realize that some are violating these rights because they don't know. They're not well versed of the rights of the domestic workers. They don't know what should be the time this person should sleep, what should be the working time. This person is sick, what is the health policy, how should I handle this person? So we also receive a challenge in that one. Then after that still, we receive a challenge that some of the domestic workers still, they don't know what are their responsibilities. And this also happens to disturb us in the course of our work, that some domestic workers, they don't know exactly what they should do. They don't know exactly why have they gone there. Then after that, we have still challenges in the government policies. That is the government policies here in Uganda. That is government policies still in Saudi Arabia. We also receive challenges in that. But I'm very happy that wherever we raise up about a given challenge, be it in the government of Saudi Arabia is very cooperative. And we thank the king for that one. They are very cooperative, and they're looking forward on having Saudi Arabia, I think in their vision 2030, they're looking forward to having Saudi Arabia becoming the best as far as the labor rights are concerned. So even the government of Uganda, they are at times they're also cooperative, and they always wake up on any complaint we raise. They also find ways on how do we have a better industry as far as externalization is concerned.
Achitandwe,
Yes.
while Nsamba was mentioning some of these challenges,
Yes.
one of the things that comes out clear is
Yes.
pre-departure training.
Right.
And when I look at the new guidelines that were issued, pre-departure training is a must.
Right.
How was this eased the situation? Recently, I think I made a call to you about a girl who went to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Reaching there, she's worked for 5 months.
Yes.
And now her daughter home is sick.
Right.
She's saying, I want to go back home.
Right.
Said, I don't want anything. They have taken her to hospital. You're fine. Says, all I want is going back home.
Right.
But these are stipulated in the contract.
Right.
So how was pre-departure training?
Right.
Is it sufficient enough? Because most of these changes is mentioning,
Right.
I think what should have been covered in pre-departure training.
Right.
So by the time the girls reach
Right.
this destination,
Right.
all this is well sorted.
Right. Robert, thank you very much for that question. Truth of the matter is that, yes, we've been having gaps in our pre-departure training, just because if you look at the curriculum, and given the time we've been carrying out the training, it's been 7 days. But when the ministry did a review and they realized that the 7 days were not sufficient enough, so right now that has been extended to 14 days. So we believe in the 14 days, those are 2 weeks, we should be able to cover everything fully. For example, you mentioned the issue of financial literacy. This is a key ingredient of the curriculum. But you see that probably maybe in the 7 days there's been a crash program. So some of these topics they've not gotten enough time to fully, sink in and stuff like that. So we believe the 14 days will answer some of the queries or complaints he's raised. But also on the issue of the contract sensitization. Right now we're talking to our partner companies to have an extra time or more efforts in trying to sensitize the employers, who we call sponsors, on these particular contracts, so that they fully understand. Some of them, like you've heard from Sharif, they don't realize that they're actually breaching these contracts. But also remember, these contracts were agreed upon by the two governments, the government of Uganda and the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So these are not individual or company-to-company contracts. So we believe sensitization of the contracts by our partner companies to the sponsors, but also this extension to 14 days training should be able to respond and also handle some of these issues raised, Robert.
Ashraf, let's also understand one thing very clear regarding your office. How strong is your mandate? Because I stand to be corrected, but the little knowledge I have about this externalization of labor is that the ushers get their jobs, yeah? They advertise them, they do the collecting of the girls, then they deliver them to another company, not right?
Yeah.
So to what extent do you as a mediator, I see you're a middleman, because you're not taking these girls to their final destination.
Yes.
So what is your mandate over? What is your authority? How binding are you? For example, a girl is being tortured in a house. This office, is it more of a white elephant, if I may use that word? Are we having a scarecrow? Or indeed, you have a mandate with authority to ensure that we have sanity where maybe dehumanization has taken place?
Okay, first of all, what I would thank the government of Uganda, and I would emphasize the ministry to look into it deeper on making sure that every company is having a qualified supervisor. There is a difference between a supervisor and there's a difference between one who is qualified. Qualified means you need to know what you're doing exactly.
Right.
First of all, the government of Saudi Arabia, the labor law is very clear. I think earlier, before that, it was around 2019, the sponsor had more rights on the domestic workers than the office. That was what happened. That is what was happening in around 2018 and the years back. But after the bilaterals which were made by the Saudi government and the Ministry of Labor here in Uganda, the Saudi government now shifted the rights or the responsibility or the authority in front of the law of the domestic worker to be all under the office. Okay. Meaning the sponsor or the boss who's having this domestic worker is monitored directly by the government but through the recruitment company in Saudi Arabia. Meaning the labor law is very clear. This person is being tortured, for example, the domestic worker gives a call that I'm not being paid salary. What to do as the office, first of all, is to communicate to the sponsor that Mr. So-and-so, I received a phone call, I've received a complaint from the domestic worker, her salaries have not yet been paid. So the sponsor either complies and pays the salary, but some of them fail, as is normal, that some people may not be cooperative on some things. But in case there is failure to comply, we are having a given section in the Ministry of Labor. It is basically its responsibility is sorting out disputes between the domestic workers and the sponsors. This section is independent. That me, the office, I can report my complaint there that Mr. So-and-so is having a salary delay of a domestic worker, so-and-so, which has not yet been paid. The responsibility of this department is to call this sponsor. That so-and-so, Najuma Hafsa says, Tonam, you've not yet been paid, you've not paid her salary. You either pay the money. In case they don't pay still, there is another section. This is under the police. Because what happens is that this section under the Ministry of Labour, in case the sponsor doesn't comply to this section can forward the matter to the police. There is a department still in police which handles labour cases. So the police still calls. No compliance, they have authority to come and pick this person from the house, or maybe stop maybe his financial card so that he or she complies. So the mandate I have as the company in Saudi Arabia, it is given to me by the government of Saudi Arabia, because I hold maximum responsibility on the health of the domestic worker, on the salaries, anything concerning her rights, as stated in the contract. I have a mandate to make sure that the sponsor puts it in action. In case it's not done, the contract is very clear right now that I have authority to remove this person from the house.
Very rosy. It all sounds very, very good, and of course, interesting heaven on earth now in the Middle East. But then, with such properly stipulated guidelines, with such authority mandated, installed upon you, sir, why then do we see some of these issues raised, being tortured, very ill? We've seen girls that by Ashi has been part of repatriating some of these girls back home. And I want to thank him for that, because I've seen him many times when you raise an issue, he will follow it up to the letter. Thank you for that, Ashi. So we see these cases, and I think one time I was with him, like, but how can a human being return this thing, return in this poor health, with such policies, with such authority? Why do we see these incidents?
What happens is, first of all, there is a police station. But not that each and every citizen knows that when I'm beaten by my husband, I need to go and report to the police. That's why it happened that to find that there is a domestic violence in homes, but children don't know where to report. You find that maybe a child is beaten by the mother, but it's been happening for over 10 years, nothing has been done. Why? There is ignorance, first of all. That some companies in Saudi Arabia don't have people who are competent enough to know, in case someone is not paid salary, where do you report? Some companies in Saudi Arabia don't have offices that are well versed with the rights of the domestic workers. So this goes back to the government here, and it goes back to the government in Saudi Arabia. Secondly, supervisors. Because the government cannot go to each and every house, cannot go to each and every office in Saudi Arabia. But the government has authority to make sure that each company in Saudi Arabia has a supervisor who is qualified. Because me, I cannot guarantee you the welfare of a domestic worker in company X, which has a supervisor who I'm not sure of if he or she is qualified to be in that position. Because what happens is that this domestic worker is going to report to the office, or is going to call to the number which was given to her by the company. But who is going to respond? Do you know how to respond? Do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to communicate to the sponsor? Do you know how to communicate to your office in Saudi Arabia that, for example, this person is not given salary, but this and this should be done? What happens is that some companies in Saudi Arabia have supervisors who don't even qualify to be domestic workers.
They're not empowered enough.
Before coming to empowerment, some even don't qualify to be domestic workers.
Let me ask then another question. You see, when you talk about qualification, it becomes relative.
Yes.
What are the qualifications for a manager best for a company in Saudi Arabia? Because you must understand, and of course for clarification for our viewers, the Middle East is quite big. Why are we talking about Saudi Arabia in specific? It's because it is the only country that Uganda has bilateral agreements with for labor externalization of domestic workers, and has the biggest number. We also had one with the Kingdom of Jordan.
Yes, Jordan. Yes, there were a few challenges, operational challenges. So the government of Uganda halted that deployment there until those few issues are fixed by the two nations. Once they agree, then that will be lifted. Yes.
So we are not talking about another country,
yes,
because most of the complaints have come out from domestic workers. These are most of the complaints, and we know it's only if you're elsewhere, your relative is in another country, then they are there illegally, if they are domestic workers. It is only in Saudi Arabia where Uganda is allowed to take domestic workers.
Right.
So just to throw more light to the conversation. Yes, qualifications.
First of all, there was a training syllabus which was put in place by the Ministry of Labour to do with the domestic workers who are working in houses. I think this has some topics, that is destination culture, some topics that is financial literacy, contract awareness. I think it's high time still the government comes up with a syllabus of supervisors.
Right.
Because sometimes, you find that my office should have direct supervision by the embassy of Saudi Arabia, of Uganda and Saudi Arabia. I think it's high time the ministry here still drafts a syllabus, so a curriculum for supervisors.
Right.
And I think the Ministry of Labour here still should shift the selection of supervisors from the companies to go back to them as the ministry. Because these people should, literally they're working for the government. Because I'm following, or I'm fighting for the rights of a domestic worker who was sent to a given country by the government. So I think the Ministry of Labour here should sit down, draft a curriculum for the supervisors.
And minimum qualifications, maybe. I would think even speaking Arabic should be one of the conditions.
Yeah, that should be a condition, but you find many of them don't even speak Arabic. So after drafting this curriculum, the minister should train these people. Whoever passes that curriculum or whoever passes that syllabus, I think he or she can qualify to be a supervisor. But people are there, they don't speak English. People are there, they don't speak Arabic. People are there, themselves, they don't know what are their rights. So how do you speak for someone? Someone who doesn't know what her right is to fight for the right of some or another person.
So how confident enough are you? Very interesting there, but the good thing is this is one of the recommendations by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, that all recruitment companies, all companies involved in labour externalization must have a supervisor, a manager based in the country of destination to handle some of these grievances. Well, I told you that you can use our social media platforms and be part of the topic of discussion this morning. Please send in your questions, your views, and of course the team in studios will be able to respond to some of these. And of course there's so much coming in. Let me be able to read a few messages here. Good morning and thanks for the program. Okay, this one says because he's at work. Okay, well, we'll get more of that, but please give me your name. I want to read these messages, but in case we do not have your name, then it becomes a bit hard. So if you're sending in a message, please let's know who is sending in the message. And of course, where you're watching from is also another thing that will benefit us so much. The number is on your screen. That is a 0709 60 25 92. 0709 60 25 92, and we'll be able to communicate effectively. Asha is with us, and also the man best in Saudi Arabia. Let's now begin with, that is Jonathan. Thank you, Basebo. I'm Jonathan. Want to go and drive. Tell me how much and qualifications. It's not in line with the domestic workers, but that is something which really Asha will respond to that. Then, hello, I'm Rukundo Michael from Kabale. I would like to know why those companies tend to ignore people after they renew their contracts, and they also talk about deception on salaries for some jobs after one has started working. Muebare. You got it right? Okay, thank you so much for being part of this. One simply asks, I'm Kevin. My question is, does the company cater for ladies? I'm a man. Is it okay for me to travel also and work? And where are you located? I have not heard of domestic workers that are men.
We shall respond to that.
Yeah, well. Respond to that. Okay, then what are you doing to stop forcing domestic workers into another contract after completing the initial one and would wish to come home? Because so many are stuck there.
Okay, I'll respond to that.
Still coming in. Good morning, UBC. Does the company also support export of professional labor? If so, how much approximately should one prepare? Thank you. Pauline Kayamba, that is from Kasese. Also, you get your reply there. For now, let me first handle those. Keep the messages coming in, and of course, the team will be able to respond to that. Let's begin with some of the questions that have come in, concerns from our viewers, beginning with you, Ashe.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank our viewers for those very good questions. One person was asking about, he wants to go and he becomes a driver. Yeah, what you need to do, first of all, you need to contact our office. We shall give you the number. You come for an interview. Once you pass that interview, then we shall take you through what else you need, and then we pick it up from there. I think that is it. Then there's a question on the professionals. Yes, we give out opportunities that are available, first of all, and also what the ministry has approved. Remember, all these job orders are approved by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. So what we normally have or give out is what has been approved and what is available. Yeah, so still, once we give out our numbers, then you'll be able to contact us, and then we can pick it up from there. Then there were issues of
people that complete their contracts.
Yes, and I think Sharif should respond to that.
And they're forced to sign up for other contracts when they want to return home, and also issues of salary.
Yes, maybe
people get there and
maybe
what they were promised. Maybe what they get.
Right. Maybe before Sharif comes in, the issue of forcing people to renew their contracts, that is unacceptable, because it is very clear. If you want to renew your contract, you come back home through the ministry, you renew your contract, and then return. That is the policy, and that's how it's supposed to be. So
I love the word you've used. That is, and that is how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Most of these contracts I know of are 2 years.
Right.
But you find someone, since they left Uganda, they have spent 4 years.
Right.
So technically, how does that happen?
Two things. One, but before I come in, I think Sharif, you first explain those reasons, then I come in, because I can see there are two things here we need to address, and I think sometimes what normally happens, what I know that happens, these young ladies agree, they go into private contracts with their sponsors and extend without going through the proper channels, and then once they get challenges midway, then that's when now they remember, oh, we need to talk to the company to help us with these challenges and stuff like that. But I want Sharif to answer that, since he's on ground and he handles this on a daily basis.
What you said could be, it has an iota of truth, because I've interacted with some of these girls that come help publicize this and all that.
Right.
Where they tell you, the first time I went with a company, now I'm back. There's a technique they use to cross through the airport.
Right.
Because they're in good relations with the sponsor.
Right.
So the second time they go back, there's no company that has taken them, but they're back in the same home where they previously worked.
Actually, Robert, maybe in addition to that, I've seen a few who have been rejected, who have been refused to leave at the airport. And I want to commend the airport authorities, because I've received some in my office that have been rejected, who wanted to return on their own. And they've been sent back. Go back to your company, then go through the proper channels, then you leave. So it's true, but of course, if on a bad day someone is asleep, they will tend to go through, which is very, very wrong. Because once this person gets a challenge, then where do you report? Who is responsible? You realize that some people actually may go on their own, like one of the messages we've had, that there are very many who are forced. Okay? But if you look into that, you realize that they had their own private arrangement with the sponsors. And then once things backfire, then they turn around and say they've been forced. And yet it is very clear, come back home. And we also want you back home for 1 month. Then go back through proper channels. There is no problem. But Sharif, I want you to throw more light on that issue.
I think first of all, for a contract, when a contract ends, two things happen. One, there's a domestic worker who wants to come back home. My contract is done, I want to go back home, I don't want to continue with my sponsor.
Right.
Then there are those who want to renew the contracts. Those who want to renew the contracts still is two-way. There are those who want to renew the contracts when they are extending. Meaning I don't want to go back home, I just want to continue working with my sponsor. That is one. Then there's another category of people who wants to first go back home for maybe a holiday of 2 months, 3 months, then I come back. So as the office in Saudi Arabia, there is a contract renewal. We drafted a new contract under the embassy. We were guided by them, and then we drafted a new contract. Someone wants to extend your contract, still your sponsor brings you back to the office. You sign a new contract, you and your sponsor. Maybe because sometimes what happens is that there are new conditions. Maybe I'm adding you more salary. Maybe I'm going to anything. There might be new conditions which they might need us to add into their new contract. So we draft a new contract and provide it to the sponsor to sign, and also the domestic worker signs. Then that contract is submitted to the embassy for approval. That is if they're extending. Still, those who are coming back to Uganda, still we sign a new contract. We send it to the company in Uganda. Then the company in Uganda submits it to the ministry for a new clearance.
Right.
But what happens is that there are some domestic workers who tend to renew the contracts without involving the office.
Exactly.
They only come in to us to inform us that please help me, maybe when they are stuck at the airport,
Right.
maybe when they are stuck anywhere. But
But with your good monitoring system,
Yes.
and actually there is a system that the ministry developed, is it Mosaned or something
Yes.
like
Yes,
that?
Mosaned.
Mosaned.
Yes.
That monitors.
Yes.
Then how does it fail to know that such a contract, for example, here in Uganda in terms of public service, you clock that age you want, you don't, it's indicated there automatically. So how does such a very good system, we've praised for some time, fail to detect that so and so in such a place, the contract has come to an end, so you, the manager, now based there, you can follow up. How does this drama then happen?
What happens, a contract can end, for example, today. But the sponsor calls the girl and tells the girl, maybe me, I need to take you back home after 2 weeks from now, after 3 weeks from now, and there's an agreement. Or sometimes the contract ends, and the domestic worker tells the sponsor, do you know what? I don't want to go back home now. Extend my contract for. I want to go maybe after 3 months. I want to go maybe after 4 months. I think the focal point which should be looked onto in this is that one, contract awareness. The domestic worker to know that in case your contract ends, the following should be put in place. That is one. Two, still contract awareness on the side of the sponsors.
Right.
That in case someone's contract ends, they should be the process. And then three, I think I go back to the supervisors still, is having someone who is competent enough to know that this person, the contract has ended, because it's true, some sponsors refuse. And they say, I'm not taking her back. Some even go arrogant and say, I bought her. That's the right in the matter. But do we have someone who can follow up, who can report this case to the Ministry of Labor, who can report this case maybe to the Embassy of Uganda and Saudi Arabia, that I'm having a domestic worker in house A, in a location A, her contract has ended, she has not been paid salary? Because me, I happen to have sometimes sponsors who refuse. Recently I had someone who had not paid the domestic worker for 10 months. They had agreed, they'll give you money after the contract, and the domestic worker agreed, and she put it in consent that it's okay. Be with my money, you pay me when I'm going back home. The domestic worker agreed. By the end of the contract, the sponsor refuses, I'm not giving you the money. So we have someone who is competent enough to fight for this girl,
Right.
that go in the ministry, go somewhere, guide the police. So it is the three-way. One, contract awareness, both the domestic worker. Because sometimes maybe the domestic worker is going to come back home just like that because she doesn't know that in case the contract ends, this is what happens. Because some of them call us, Mr. Sharif, my contract is done, what should I do? Should the sponsor bring me back to the office? Should he take me to another house? Some girls don't know. So in case a sponsor finds her in a situation where she doesn't know what to do, she can do what he or she wants. So contract awareness is still to the sponsors to be aware of the rights of the domestic worker.
Right.
When a contract ends, what happens? Then three, supervisors who are competent enough. Because I think that's why we have the police. That's why God sent prophets. That's why God sent a Bible, sent a Quran. That yes, I've told you that you should not do fornication. But still, there is a police that in case you do fornication, this is the law. Do you have a police that is going to emphasize this law?
Right.
So those are the 3 points I think we need to look at.
Very interesting there. Let's look at some of the messages that are still coming in. Okay. Please don't call on this number, kindly. Good morning, Basebo. I'm Josh from Mukono. I'm a welder by profession and I want to go abroad and work for there. What should I do? How much money is enough for that? Okay, then we have thanks for the program. Thanks for appreciating. Another question is, do they allow persons under 18 years to go out for domestic work in such, if such a person is not studying? That is 18 years. Still we have, hello Ashraf, I'm Jachim Paun from Nebi. Kindly wish to know why these sponsors detain domestic workers' passports if there is no negative motive. That is a very good one. We've had such complaints coming in. Good morning, Uganda. I'm Augustine. How comes the Ministry of Internal Affairs endorses a signature to allow laborers to countries like Qatar and so on? Okay. Well, time is not so much. Let's just go with those questions. Yes.
Right.
First, detention of passports and all. Why do they do that? Then maybe on the issue of other countries.
Right. Sharif first.
I think detention of a passport is a violation.
Exactly.
Me, as a supervisor in Saudi Arabia, I don't guarantee you that there won't be violation of contract. I cannot guarantee you that. But what I guarantee you, that in case there's a violation of the contract, I guarantee to fight for the right of the domestic worker. Because basically that's why we are sent. That these people we are dealing with, they are human beings.
Right.
As we have a police here in Uganda, someone can be killed in Uganda, someone can be abused with anything. But what happens, the question should be, the right question, I think that gentleman from Nebi, his question should be, do you guarantee that in case someone's passport has been detained, you can fight for it to be given back to this person?
Right.
Because I don't know what is in the hearts of people, the sponsors in Saudi Arabia, the same way I don't know what is in the heart of you, Mr. Robert, right now. Well,
time is also much on our side. Can I have your final remarks?
Yes. First of all, there was a question, Robert, on the issue of age. Yeah. I want to appeal to Ugandans and also inform them that anyone who is below 21 years, they are not suitable to go and do domestic work. You should be 21 years and above. And the ministry has put this clearly in the regulations. That's how we're supposed to move. But also, Robert, I want to sensitize Ugandans on two things. One, if you have, if you're seeking an opportunity abroad, if you contact any company, kindly check with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, or check with your DSO if you're out of Kampala, to find out, is this company licensed to do this work? Secondly, if there is an opportunity in that particular company, also verify, find out, take your time to find out that this opportunity was actually also confirmed, that it is actually legal and all these things. Because in most cases, Robert, you realize that people actually use people's companies. These funny people. In the end, you realize that someone says, oh, this company X offered me this opportunity, and yet actually there are these human traffickers who are pretending to be. So we need to be very, very careful. You verify. But also, finally, I also want to urge Ugandans to kindly go through proper channels. Avoid being trafficked. Right now, we have a very big problem in the United Arab Emirates. This week, I've received about 4 people who have domestic workers in the UAE, and they have different issues they want me to help them with. So you can imagine, Ugandans, there is only one country that we are allowed to send domestic workers. That is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, no other country. So please let us avoid human trafficking, because, Robert, like I've been telling you, even your uncle can traffic you, even your own brother. So I just wanted to make sure that we understand that. Thank you very much.
Finally, Samba, regarding today's topic, in a minute, please.
My major emphasis, or my major advice or the recommendation is that, one, I emphasize companies to focus so much on selection. I also emphasize them to focus so much on the training which is given to these domestic workers. And then to the domestic workers, we also still emphasize you to use companies that are licensed by the Ministry of Labour, so that in case of anything, you have where to report. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Asher Chitandwe, who is, that is the CEO in Jersey Company Limited, Uganda, one of the companies that are in labor externalization, and also Ashraf, who happens to be the country's manager in Saudi Arabia. Importantly is, let's ensure these domestic workers, before they leave, they properly understand the contract. Most of the issues arise from failure to understand what one pen signature to, its implication. And also, with such offices, we hope we shall have a smooth sail for all Ugandans who leave this country to go and seek for greener pastures as domestic workers in the Middle East. Have a lovely day. Up next is sports. God bless you. Don't forget to get your jab. And if you're above 50, go and get that booster dose in case you've completed the 2 doses. Good morning, Uganda.
It's the 2021 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations. Live, free, and exclusive to your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's the festive season and we love it. And that means it's time to celebrate with GoTV.
Come with me.
So get your GoCoder and GoTV value for 25,000 shillings to watch with the whole family. And if you're feeling extra festive, upgrade to our best package yet, GoTV Super.
Something to look forward to.
Download the My GoTV app for more information.
Super.
We all deserve a super festive season. And with GoTV, there's every reason to love it.
A very good evening to you and thank you for joining us here at the Cairo International Stadium. As you can see with that word at the top of your screens, it is of course the final of this 32nd edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, and it pits together Senegal, the West African giants,